Okay, hi everybody. Can you let me know if you can see me and hear me? I can see my monitor. It says an error occurred. So who knows if this is going out on the internet or not. The only way for me to tell is if you can tell me in the chat. So if you're watching on the replay, skip ahead 30 seconds to a minute. I reckon we'll have this sorted out. Let me see. I think that you can see me. Okay. Can you confirm in the chat? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Yes, Zana says, I can see and hear you. Excellent. So welcome back, guys. Excel VBA for Beginners, 30 real-world problems and solutions. How's your week been? It's Friday. Doesn't matter what day of the week it is, Saturday, Sunday, we're getting down with some more Excel VBA. And as I say, every time, I hope you're able to apply these in your practice. Great to get some emails, some comments, people saying, I've tried this. It's been working for me. Great stuff. So let's start the random problem generator. There go the balls. Let's say hello to some people in the chat while those balls are churning around. Andrew Button, welcome. Frank is with us. Frank has been out for his daily walk. Welcome, Frank. Lee is with us. Welcome, Lee. Ian Lamb, welcome. Matthias is with us as well. Varjes is with us. Welcome. Charles, Phil, welcome, guys. Alan is with us. Welcome. Nikki is with us. Welcome. Kurt from Colorado. Welcome, Kurt. And Zana is with us tuning in. Welcome, Abdul. And I think that's everybody down to the bottom. I think that's everybody. Whatever Man is with us. Welcome, Whatever Man. DC is with us as well. And yeah, Charles is saying I'm not keeping track of the days. Wow. Every day is a VBA day. That's what I say, Charles. Right. Let's see what's going on today. The ball is coming. List unique values in a data set using VBA. As I say every time, I do this all the time. I genuinely do this all the time. But there is a new development that I want to tell you about. Tell me in the chat. What's the new development in Excel that's going to help us do this? When we've got a data set, we want to take just the unique values. There's a few ways of doing that in Excel. And there's a new development that's just coming out now, I think, in Excel. That is going to help us with this. Can you tell me in the chat what that is? Okay, let's go into our live demo here. I'm going to go ahead as usual, create a data set. We're going to close our random problem selector. Yeah, Matthias, I've still got 24 problems because I haven't deleted yesterday's problems. I'm not deleting one a day. Every 6 or 7 days, I'll probably delete one. So we will get some repetition. Ian Lamb, on the money. One of our members on the money with the unique formula. Good stuff. So I had to do this quickly. Let's suppose we're going to have a list of random numbers here. So I'm going to use the run between formula. Let's have run between. In fact, I'm not going to use numbers. That's going to be too confusing. So I'm going to take some names from the chat. Say something now if you want your name to appear on the list. I will put you in. Ian, you're in. Nikki is in. If you say something in the chat now, you're going to go in the list and you're going to forever be a part of this live stream because it's going to stay on the internet. Okay, good. DC, you're in. So it's this kind of situation. And as always, this is just going to be, a bit of a contrived example, but you have to kind of imagine and scale it up. Craig, you're in, just snuck in there. I'm just going to say Craig. And then Zana is in as well. And then we're going to have to close the doors there, I'm afraid, guys. Okay, Andrew specifically asked to be added. So I'm going to add Andrew. And then that's going to do Zana. I'm butchering your name there. I do apologize. Okay, so we're going to have 3 Andrews here. Let's take these down. Let's just clear out these cells. Okay, so we've got 2 Zanas in here. Then we're going to have a couple of Craigs. And let's have a couple of Allens. Okay, and the others, we're just going to have a single entry Alt HDR there. Then I'm going to give, let's give you a random number between, just to jumble you up to 1 and 1,000. Okay, Control D, autofill down, Control C, Control Alt V, V, just take the values, and then Alt A, S, S. I'm going to sort by column D. It's just going to get them out of alphabetical order. So it's this kind of situation where you got a data set and you just want the unique values, because we can see Andrew is repeated in there. We can see DC is repeated in there. We just want the unique values. A few different ways to do this in Excel. We've had some great contributions in the chat already. Yeah, DC says this will be super easy with the new dynamic array formulas coming down the pipe. So, and Ian originally said unique, the unique formula. Okay, so you might say to me, but Chris, we don't need VBA for this because there's a new unique formula to do it. And let's just try to do it. You know, I think I've tried to use unique once. Do I have to put the absolute references on? I think I do. And then there you go. And it does this thing. It spills. Did you see that? Did you see how the formula spilt down to the other rows? So that's pretty cool with unique. And now I'm still getting used to these array formulae. And to be honest, I'm not jumping into using them for a reason I'm going to explain in a second. But yeah, you should definitely be aware that they're there. Why should you not depend on them at the moment? Well, most people aren't using the latest version of Excel. And I would say it would still be another 5 or 10 years before you could guarantee that these array formulae are going to be available to everybody. 5 or 10 years, I would say, because for various reasons, organizations not using the most recent version of Excel, but they're dynamic formulae because, as you saw, they go and look at a range and then do some calculations, perform some kind of operation on a range, and they spill over into other cells. So there's some new behavior to get used to. I'm still working out how they fit into my practice because if we don't quite know if there's a value in a cell or not, will a value sometime appear in row 14? Not absolutely sure about that. So there's the unique formula and there's the pros and cons of using that. So I'm still sticking with doing this in VBA. So when typically might you use this? So when you've got a data set, you want the unique values. Doing things like creating a drop-down menu from a column. So these values, got all these values in a column, just like this column here. We want to give the user the choice of choosing a value, but we can't just, you know, select the whole column and point the drop-down menu to the whole column because it's going to repeat some of the names. So we just want to take the unique values out. So I'm going to show you how to do it in VBA. And I think of all of the stuff we're covering, I must have written this code, you know, 100 times. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I did this last week. Shall I just go to that workbook and find it and then copy it in, or shall I write it again from scratch? Usually I end up writing it again from scratch because I just can't be bothered to go and try to find another workbook. So let's put a module in and make sure you make some kind of data set yourself, and then make sure you're working along with me here. Option explicit as always, and then get unique values. I'm going to ask you now, because there's always a bit of a delay on the stream. What tools are going to help us here? Let's get into that planning and conceptualization mode. What tools are going to help us here? And I'm going to do some pseudocode to begin with. So let's define range to loop through. And you could be doing this dynamically. Today, we're not going to do it dynamically, but you've got the tools from this series to help you do it dynamically. What did we do in the last stream? How to find the last row in a data set, a nice dynamic mechanism. Could be dynamic. We're going to do it static today. Define the range to loop through the cells. Okay, if the value in the cell is not listed, then puts it, okay, this is going to be a conditional statement, is not listed, then find the bottom of the list and then add it to the list. Okay, and how are we going to do this? Find, because we're going to have a list building up here of the unique values. So we've got to say to Excel, is the value in the list already? What formula is going to help us do that? What function is going to do that? I think we can do that using a countif function. Use countif to find if this value is already listed. Okay, there we go. And once again, yeah, we're going to build from a simpler example, and let's see if we can build in the more complex ideas to get to a kind of real world level solution. Yes, Craig in the chat, good stuff. Worksheet function .countif. I think you're ahead of me there. Good stuff. Okay, you know, I'm not getting any money off Microsoft. I just recommend you go for Office 365. Good. So into the VBA editor, so define the range to loop through. We know we're using a loop, so we're going to need a variable to control the loop. It's the classic Chris cell variable. Then we're going to say for each Chris cell in, and this is the part we could do dynamically, of course. We're going to just do a static reference, certainly to begin with. We might look in a second how you might do this dynamically. But what is it? C4 to C20. And I'm not going to worry about the sheet references either. Usually you would have to think about the sheet reference. You know, are we going to be on this sheet when this routine is run? You know, that might not be the case. Probably won't be the case. I write all code so that it works from any sheet in the file. I don't do direct referencing. I do remote referencing. We're going to do it directly here because it's just a demonstration. Maybe we'll come back to that later. For each 4, what's going on here? You can tell it's a Friday. Although we are live tomorrow, guys, of course. And let me know, you're going to be tuning in tomorrow. I think we had our best viewing figures last Sunday. So hopefully over the weekend, we'll get lots of people coming in. Let's just prove this is working. Okay, I'm just going to go through this code a couple of times. Put a stopping point in here, clicking in the margin here. That means every time the code gets there, it's going to stop, play the code. Okay, C4. Okay, we play it again, C5. So once again, put the basic mechanism in. Let's test it. Let's do a bit. Let's test it. Okay, so now we've got to go ahead and let's create, okay, this is our data set here. Okay, Control B, Control U. And this is going to be our unique list area. And I'm going to make some simplifying assumptions here that I probably wouldn't do if I was doing this in a real world setting. And we're going to assume, yeah, the unique list area, well, that's not going to exceed the size of the actual data set, isn't it? It's going to be smaller than the actual data set because we're just taking the unique values. So we can safely assume our unique list area is not going to be bigger than row 20 there, between row 4 and row 20. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and make this a named range, ulist. So this is the shorthand way to do a named range. In the name box at the top, you have to click enter now. Otherwise, it won't go into the name manager. Always check Alt-MN, and we can see we've got our named range in there. I'm just going to say Alt-HBA, just to remind me that this is the unique list area. So the first thing we should do actually, which I didn't get in the pseudocode, is clear existing list if there are any entries there. And because we've got a named range, should be nice and easy. So we can say ulist. Should it be clear or should it be clear contents? What do you think? I generally go for clear contents because clear is going to clear formatting. Does it clear comments as well? I think it's going to clear everything in the cell. So this is just going to clear the values there. Good. DC says he's been looking forward to the dynamic functionality. Good stuff. Definitely. Okay, so we don't need this now. Now we need our conditional statement. So Craig, with a great contribution, worksheet function count if is going to help us here. Let's look at the concept quickly. So I'm using your name, Craig. Craig, am I just assuming you're called Craig because your YouTube handle looks a bit like the word Craig? You let me know. What should I be calling you here? So let's do a little proof of concept in the spreadsheet. So as always, we're taking intermediary steps to build our confidence, build our understanding. We're not just trying to write all the code. That's the way to guarantee you're going to get stressed. So with COUNTIF, I always think it should be criteria and then range. So I find it a bit counterintuitive how it's range and then criteria. We can select our range here. We're going to see the named range appear if those exact cells are selected. And then the criteria, I'm just going to select Craig here, just for demonstration purposes. So if the name does already appear in the unique list area, then this COUNTIF function that I've put in the spreadsheet, in a second, we're going to put it in the VBA editor using application.worksheet function. Then it's going to return a value of 1. It's going to return a value of more than 0. But if the name is not in the area, then in the unique list area, we can see that function is going to return a value of 0. This is the critical mechanism that allows us to understand, is this name already in the list or not? If it's not in the list, then we want to go ahead and put it in the list. So let's try to kind of transfer that function into VBA using application.worksheet function. So if application.worksheet function, if I'm using application.worksheet function, I always write the formula in the spreadsheet first, because it's difficult writing formula in the VBA editor. You don't get the prompts, you can't see the cells, it's just a different environment. So always try to set up the formula in the spreadsheet first. COUNTIF, and we know it's range and then criteria. And when we're writing the formula using application.worksheet function, we have to use VBA syntax. We're not using normal worksheet formula syntax here. So list. And then what's the criteria going to be? Stop the video if you're watching on replay. How are we going to tell Excel which cell we're currently looking at? Well, we just demonstrated our mechanism of looping through the cells. So this Chris cell variable is looping down the data set, looping down these cells. So we can just say to Excel here, Chris cell, because the value property is the default property. So very simple. We can just say Chris cell here and then say equals 0. Then write into the list. Okay. I'm going to put the end if in there now so that I don't forget to do it later. Let's just create a little more room, bring that into your screenshot. So once again, you know, we're just ticking off these challenges one by one because we've got a good conceptual understanding. We've done our pseudocode. It's like I can see the problems coming. You know, I know kind of intuitively now what the problems are going to be. But if you're starting out in VBA, you know, that's not going to come straight away. So you've got to be steady and deliberate, doing things like writing out the pseudocode. You're going to see, I'm going to have a problem doing that. I'm going to have a problem doing that. I can see a challenge coming now, which is, what's the next cell in the list? What's the next empty cell in the list? We'll look at that in just a second. Let me briefly tell you about Members Monday. So I hope you're going to check out Members Monday. You can click join below this video. So this is our learning community that's going to take your Excel VBA towards professional level. And you get a weekly live stream on a Monday. That's why it's called Members Monday. But that's not just it. It's not just the live stream. You also get the Facebook group. You get access to the community, the people who have little membership badges next to their names in the chat. They are our members. We've got a great group of members, got about 30 people there. Let me tell you what we're doing at the moment. One of our members, Zara, has sent in a project. I did a little video session with her that I've put into Members Monday, and our members are now working on that project. So it's like a real life simulated consulting project. You know, when I was starting out in VBA, I had to learn on the job. Yeah, and I had many kind of harsh lessons from people when I was learning on the job. Members Monday, you get to learn in a safe space, really, a nice supported environment, but you're still going to get that challenge that's going to hopefully push your Excel skills to professional level. So check it out, Members Monday, click join below this video. We would love to have you there. So we've got our COUNTIF formula here. let's do this kind of the easy way first by using a formula in the spreadsheet. So let's just say number of entries here. And then let's use a Alt-HOW10. Then let's use a count A formula to tell us how many entries are currently in the unique list. Can you see where this is going? Can you see how it's unfolding the story of this spreadsheet? So the count A formula will tell us if there's values in the list. We can then use that information to position the next entry. For example, now there's 2 values in the list. The next entry has got to go into the 3rd row. How about that? A beautiful combination, VBA working with a worksheet formula, in this case count A. Now this is not how I do it these days, but this is a great starting point. You know what, this is going to work in most situations. Unless you've got a really big data set or a really complicated spreadsheet, this is going to work absolutely fine. So how is this going to work? How is this going to work? Once again, yeah, absolutely. Stop the video and see if you can get this next mechanism in. But we're going to say a unique list start, which is here. And I'm going to go ahead and give this cell a name. Why do I give this particular cell a name? Because it's an important cell. It's an anchor cell. It's at the top of a list. Yeah, we don't want to name every range we're using, but we want to name some of the important ones. That means if we were to put a column in like this, we can see that named range has moved across. Note in the top left hand corner, we can see the named range there. Control Z to undo that. So we can now use that named range. Yep, U list starts dot offset. Now what's coming next? Because we can just say offset 1, 0 is going to give us 1 row down. This would put us in row F4. It's not quite what we want, is it? We need something more dynamic than that, so that as entries build up in the list, our code is going to take us to the next empty cell. So can you see how this is coming together? Fish and chips. It's a beautiful combination of things. It's a synergy, like the Beatles we were talking about yesterday, weren't we? It's George, Paul, Ringo, and John. Yeah, they're synergizing together. They're more than the sum of their parts. That's what we're seeing today. So I4, and you could give this cell a named range as well. Offset. Okay, something like this. I think is going to work. I think. Just sense checking this code. Does it look reasonable? Dot offset rows and then columns and then the value Chris cell. And remember, Chris cell, the variable, is looping through the data set here. So this should be all we need. This should give us a simple solution. What do we think? Shall we give it a go? Let's have some indentation here. Let's keep our coding discipline. Okay, Control S, save the file. I'm going to step through using the F8 key, and you can see the setup I've got. You've got to be able to do this. See the VBA editor and the spreadsheet at the same time. You can do that on Windows using Windows key and left, Windows key and right. Hopefully you've got another monitor now. I think in every session I say you've got to get yourself another screen. Whatever you do, you've got to be able to see the VBA editor and Excel at the same time. That means you can do this. And seriously, if there's one thing that you have to be able to do, I think I say that every stream, don't I? But if there's one skill I could give people, it will be just to be able to do this, to look through the code, run the code, step through it, and see what's happening in Excel. So let's just put a value here that should disappear. It allows us to do a quick test. I4, yep, allows us to do a quick test. So we're expecting Chris to disappear there. Okay, so C4 to C20, is that accurate? Yes, it is. Okay, count if, so we're counting in the U list, Chris cell, so it currently equals 0 because Excel has taken the first entry, which is Zana, looking for Zana in, if I hover the cursor over Chris cell, I can see the value being held in the variable, which is Zana, so it's looking in the range we've specified, ulist, remember that was a named range, it's looking for that value, hasn't found it. So it's returning a value of 0. That means the condition is met. So we're going to run the code in the conditional statement there. And we can see, okay, Zana appeared at the top there. So our positioning, not quite right, but that's totally normal. I'm going to make the excuse that I'm live streaming. So I'll make those mistakes, but I make those mistakes all the time. It's not a big deal. We just need to tell Excel to go one row further down there. Okay, so once again, F8 key, I just hit the stop button at the top, and that just resets the VBA editor. F8 key. Okay, what are we expecting to happen now? Expecting Zana's name to appear in F4. Okay, and there it is. And now we're going to the next row. So it's Craig, C5 now. Hitting the F8 key, what are we expecting to happen? If everything works, Craig should appear in F5. That's because we've now got a value of 1 in this cell. 1 plus 1 is 2. And we're starting from F3. So that should get us to F5. Let's see, we've got Craig there. Okay, Andrew is next, expecting Andrew to appear in row 6. There's Andrew. Okay, what's going to happen now? So it's Craig again. So this is a nice test for our mechanism. It's Craig again. So that means that this countif function should return a value of 1, shouldn't it? Because Craig appears once in the range we've specified. So we shouldn't go into the conditional statement. Let's see what happens here. We haven't gone into the conditional statement. Nice. The next one is Andrew. Andrew's already in the list. So we're not expecting to go into the conditional statement, and we didn't go into the conditional statement. We're now on to Nikki. I'm just hovering the cursor over the variable there. And then we're expecting Nikki to appear now, and there's Nikki, and we can keep going. I'm just going to play this now. And we can see we've got our unique list there. How could we validate this? Remember, once we do something in VBA, if we do anything in Excel, we get a formula working, whatever it might be, we've got to validate it, check it, always do the same thing 2 ways. I might do it 2 or 3 ways if I was doing this in a real world project. So let's bring back that unique formula. And let's see if we get a similar result here. We can see we've got exactly the same result, haven't we? Very nice. Using the unique formula. So we've got the same result 2 different ways. Let's just do one more thing here. So that's a nice solution. Let's do one more thing here, which is to get rid of this interaction with the spreadsheet. As I say, that's going to work fine. So, don't obsess about this, but it's slicker to not use anything in the spreadsheet, not have a formula in the spreadsheet at all. There's various benefits to that. You don't have to have a formula in the spreadsheet. Your user's not going to accidentally delete the formula, although that formula would not be visible to the user. You'll put it on a supporting sheet and hide that sheet. But let's just look at it as an alternative solution here. Okay, so rather than using offset here, can we do this? Trying to think how I'll do this. I think I'll do this using dot end Excel down. Okay, but I'm going to say to Excel, if there's nothing in the list, if there's nothing in the list, then put it in F4. If there is something in the list, then do dot end Excel down from the top. Now, why is that? That's because if there's nothing in the list and we do dot end Excel down, where's Excel going to go? Well, we can simulate dot end Excel down by doing control and down arrow. Control down arrow on the keyboard. That simulates dot end Excel down. That's going to take us to the bottom of the spreadsheet. Yeah. So we just need a little extra mechanism here. So if it's the first entry in the list, there's nothing in the list, then we just want to put it in that first cell. If not, if there is already an entry in the list, then we want to do dot end Excel down. Now just watch, I'm going to do dot end Excel down now, control and down arrow, and you can see we're on row 4. So we're okay as long as we have an entry in the database. Okay, so if there's an entry in the database, so I'm going to use the logic if So it's ulist start is the named range. Dot offset 10, so the cell below the named range. If there's nothing in there, then this reference here, this syntax, the cell that we get to is going to equal Chris cell. So in other words, if there's nothing in the list, just put it in the first cell in the list. If there is something in the list, then we can use dot end Excel down. Just seeing another complication coming here. Dot end Excel down, and then I think we have to offset from there, although we'll see. Do we? We're going to find out. Chris cell. Here we go. So now there's, with this mechanism, hopefully there's no reliance on the spreadsheet. I'm going to leave this formula here, but we're not actually using it. So hopefully you could safely delete it. Is this ulist start? Yes, it is. Just sense checking the code now. Yep. So that's one row down. One row down. Okay. Yep. Then you put the value in. If not, okay. Looks reasonable enough to me. Okay. Right, step through the code. F8 key, clearing it. So we've got Zana's into the variable now. So this condition is met. So we're going to go to the first part of the conditional statement, and we've got Zana's name in there. And then the next one coming in now. Let's get this into your screenshot properly. Okay, so what are we expecting to happen now? Well, this condition is not met, is it? Because there's a value in F4. So we're going to go to the second part of the conditional statement. This is I'm suspicious about this. Is it going to work? And it has worked. Okay, good stuff. So third value now. So this is Andrew. Condition is not met. Second part of the conditional statement. Okay, and Andrew goes in. So now we've got Craig again. So we're not even going to go into that part of the code because the first condition on this line here is not met. That condition has not been met. So now we've got Craig again, conditions not met. And then we've got, Nikki, is it coming in now? There we go. Yep, seems to be working okay. Right, let's play this code. We can see we've got our unique list there. Is that the same? I think it's the same. So let's get unique in again here. Let's see if we can get the same result two ways. F2, Control Shift down. There we go. Yeah, we've got the same result there. We can see them lining up at the bottom there. Okay, so that's close to like a professional level solution. It's close. We won't improve it any further today. How would you critique this? I always say to the people I work with, you know, any code has pros and cons. How would you critique this? I would say, well, you've got a static reference here. So a bit of homework for you would be to try to make this range, which is our data set, try to make that range dynamic. How would you do that? Well, just yesterday, we looked at how to get the next row in the data set in a dynamic way. Yeah, and DC in the chat has got a nice solution as well, which is going to avoid having the second conditional statement. Yeah, so we could go even leaner with this code. We could get rid of more code. Let me know, guys, any final questions in the chat. Yeah, but that will be a nice extension what I mentioned there. Any final questions? If not, we'll be coming back tomorrow, but just got a small announcement about this series, which is we're going to be live Saturday, we're going to be live Sunday, and then Monday to Friday next week, I'm actually going to be doing something else. I can't do it live Monday to Friday next week. So we'll have a short break from the 30 for 30 series next week, Monday to Friday, but we'll be back on the Saturday. Don't worry. So it's part 8 today, part 9 Saturday, part 10 Sunday. So we'll have the first 10 parts, then a short break, then we'll get going with the rest of the series. So thank you so much for watching, guys. 14 likes, fantastic stuff. And I hope this is going to help you push your career forward with more powerful, practical, real world VBA. I'll see you the same time tomorrow, guys. Take care.